Thank you for staying with us. I guess that music really puts you in the mood.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on and do other serious matters now.
Okay, all right. So I can relax. Okay.
And I'm talking about the 2023 National Population and Housing Census.
That's a serious matter.
This will take place in less than 4 months. And the Population Commission has announced that the census of this year is going to be different. You know, the past ones were marred by all kinds of controversy. But this time, the Commission is saying it's going to be different because they're deploying cutting-edge technology, which will include Global Positioning System, otherwise known as GPS, as well as satellite images, noting that every building in the country has already been coded for that purpose.
Is there going to be thermal imaging as well?
The Commission is sending 2 of their reps.
Okay.
So we shall ask them the questions.
Okay, because then they won't have to go around. Just take a picture of the image of a house. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's the number of people at there.
That's for the house, but you still have to go count the people in there.
I mean, thermal imaging means you can count the people through the walls. Yeah.
Ah,
Yep.
okay. Population Commission. Are you deploying that as well? Well, okay, it's my pleasure. Let me welcome the guests first. Spokesman to Borno State Governor, Issa Gusau, is with us in our Abuja studio. Good morning, Mr. Gusau.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. We expect the Federal Commissioner, Lagos State, to also join us shortly. But in the meantime, we're glad that we have Mr. Gusau with us. Mr. Gusau, how are you preparing? I mean, by you, I mean Borno State. How are you preparing for this census?
Well, you know, Borno, like I always said, is very lucky. We have a governor, Professor Babagana Umar Zulum, that is always proactive. I think he has made the whole thing easier for the National Population Commission, because as soon as he came on board in May 2019, his focus was to continue on the reconstructions of the previous administration where he had worked as a commissioner. So within the last 3 years, Governor Zulum has led to the resettlement of about 1 million IDPs. About 1 million IDPs have been resettled. More than 10,000 houses have been rebuilt. About 20 communities have been resettled. Right now, IDP camps in Maiduguri are officially closed. So largely, the census work is going to be easier for the National Population Commission. Most of the communities are back, activities are going back. So I think the state government has made it a bit easier, a lot easier for the NPC.
Mr. Gusau, are there any more IDP? You said most of them have been resettled. They have gone back to, are there still any in operation?
In Maiduguri, for instance, IDP camps have been officially closed between Maiduguri and Jere, which used to have the highest number. But there are about 10 local government areas where you have IDP camps within the capital headquarters of these local government areas. For instance, in Mongono, there are about 90,000 IDPs from our 4 local government areas, from Marte, Guzamala, some parts of Mobar, and about 2 other local government areas. There are IDP camps in Goza town, in Pulka, in Damboa, in Ganzai. About 10 local government areas have got some IDP camps. But the most of those residents are within the host communities.
And one thing before we go to the commissioner, have these people in the camps been sensitized enough to actually entertain the census officials when they come to count them?
This is happening at a time that we have, the entire political process. So the consciousness is there. And you know, Governor Zulum is very educated. He's somebody who takes a lot of things. Actually, the governor leads all advocacies, whether for census, whether for elections. The governor, as you know, hardly stays in Maiduguri. He's always across local government areas. And wherever the governor is, he meets with stakeholders, community leaders, all kinds of people, and then he leads the advocacy. So the people of Borno are sensitized, but of course I know in every society there would always be more, to be done. Luckily, there is still a bit more time, but the governor leads the advocacy and will continue to build on what the governor is doing.
Well, let me bring in Abimbola Saluhudeyin, who is a federal commissioner of the National Population Commission for Lagos State, also right there with you in our Abuja studio. Thanks for joining us this morning, madam. Well, good morning, yeah. One could say that you have your job cut out for you. Of course, you've been here on this program a few times to educate Nigerians, to sensitize people about this entire process. How far so far, madam? Okay, well, I guess we'll come back. We'll come back to you, madam. But let me stay with you for a moment, Mr. Gusau. So this is what we have now, and all of that. Now you said that the governor leads all advocacies. How informed would you say the people are, and how expectant? Because I mean, even though, as you say, this is coming at about the same time as the electoral process, sensitization about the NPC. Well, the population census started a very long time ago. So how well informed, how aware would you say the residents are from your experience, not just as a government official, if I can dare say that, but in terms of sensitization, in terms of awareness, in terms of word of mouth from people to people, if you can get any feel from the people, how well aware would you say the people are?
Well, I can barely hear you. I didn't hear all that you were saying, so
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Mr. Gusau? Okay, well, you can't hear me, but you could hear her. Maybe you could hear it.
Can you hear me, Mr. Gusau?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Mr. Gusau?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. His question was, you said that the governor led all the advocacy. So how prepared would you say that the people are for this exercise?
I would like to first of all say Happy New Year to you channels and to Nigerians. And as I welcome us to the 2023 digital census. This is the year of the digital census. I must say, first of all, that as for preparedness on our part, the Commission has put all hands on deck. Channels has been following up. We've been talking several times. I've been here on several occasions, and we really appreciate what you're doing. For the advocacy, we like to be very honest. We also know that a lot of Nigerians are yet to understand what we want to do. Some have heard about census, but they don't even know what. But we would recall that last week, Mr. President actually made a proclamation and said that the census will now hold 29th of March. It starts on the 29th of March. Enumeration will start 29th of March, and it's for 5 days. So this has made it to be more, on our part, we found this a lot of pressure again so that Nigerians can understand and know that the census is coming up. I'm also aware, and I remember very well, that channels, particularly my brother, you've always taken us up on the fact that many people haven't heard. But let me say this, we have actually been working hard on advocacy, and we've improved a lot on it. But don't forget that why it doesn't appear that we are doing so much, like you would say about the elections, is one, election in Nigeria is a big deal. What I mean by that is everybody is interested. And the periodicity of elections is 4 years, and it does not fail. So any child born in the last 4 years would understand by the time he's 5 years that there's going to be an election. Census is yet to have a fixed periodicity. And because census is yet to have a fixed periodicity, it should be 10 years. Now, the last census we had was 2006. This is 17 years now. Majority of the Nigerian population, we have a very youthful population. They are youths. Imagine about 70% of them, 17 years ago, were either toddlers or maybe really don't understand what census is. So if you're talking about it now, we need to go extra mile to really make people to be much more conscious. But we're really doing our best, and I want to assure you, we intend to do much more. And maybe I shouldn't be the one to say this, but I'll say it. Even why I'm in Abuja is because of this. It is an emergency meeting that we must increase our tempo in the area of advocacy. And we've targeted all TV stations, particularly channels that has been our lead voice, and we're so grateful. So we will be reaching out to you with jingles, with adverts, with more talks like these, much more advocacy, so that everybody living in Nigeria would know that the census is on the 29th of March. It starts on the 29th of March and would run for 5 days. Because you know, unlike elections, census is an all-inclusive. When a child is born on the morning of the census, that child must be counted. Whether the child is born yesterday, the child must be counted. It's not like elections where you count 18 and where only 18 and above vote. This one is the entire nation that must be counted, and we intend to ensure that everybody is counted. And that's why for the first time, again, another reason why people still don't understand this kind of census is this is the first time Nigeria will be having a digital census. And so we need to also educate Nigerians more on what a digital census entails. We also know it's a big challenge, and I can assure you we're doing our very best. All hands are on deck, and every Nigerian will be counted. That's what I want to say for now.
Well,
in Lagos State.
Just 1 second, madam. When you say digital census, that suggests to the average person that a lot of technology is going to be deployed. For the purpose of understanding, please let Nigerians know what you mean when you say it's a digital census, meaning a lot of technology will be employed. What does that mean? What are the things Nigerians must expect when you come to do the count?
Thank you very much. We mean digital census is, as the name stands, digital. Technology is being employed now to make sure that our job is easier and that accuracy is achieved. Because we all know that with technology, accuracy is easily and better achieved because analog gives room for a lot of things. But with technology, it's easier to achieve accuracy. This time, we'll be having a completely paperless census. We'll be coming to people's houses with what we call the personal digital assistant, which is like an iPhone or an Android phone. On that particular the PDA, let me shorten it, we have the map of each local government, each locality, each area. Every street name is there, every house is there, everything you want to see on a map is on that PDA that is just like what I'm holding. And when we get to the house, all the questions that we're going to ask you are on the PDA. So what the enumerator does is to open the PDA, and because on the PDA it is noted the enumerator is in Channels Television Abuja, not Channels Lagos. So the enumerator cannot be in Channels Abuja and lie to us that he's in Channels Lagos, because on the PDA it has been geofenced. That is part of the digitalization we did during the enumeration area demarcation. So he now opens his PDA after the usual pleasantries that we have taught our enumerators to do, to ask after people's welfare. Then he goes straight to the point. He takes the questions as they are on the PDA. And as they answer, the answers are imputed immediately on the PDA. And as soon as it finishes with a particular respondent, it is sent to the cloud, to the server. From the server, it goes to the cloud. So you can be sure that there will be manipulation is minimally reduced. This is what digital census simply means. That this time, there is no writing, there is no, I've written Abimbola. No, she's not Abimbola, she's actually Bolanle. Please correct it. No. Once you have given your information, it is at a stance, and we send it to the national server. From there, it goes on to the cloud, where it is stored. And then later, when we finish, results are collated and then announced to Nigerians.
Mrs. Sunday, what happened to those deep interiors that do not have internet? How will they send the information to the cloud?
Very much. For those interiors, they can also work offline. That's how the PDA has been constructed. They can work offline. When they get to where there is internet, then they can upload it. That's how it is done. We are also aware of this, and we are conscious of that. And that's why the PDA has been designed to work both offline and online. And then you get to where there is internet, where there is service, then you can then upload.
Between collecting the information and getting to where there's a connection, can't the information be manipulated?
Can the information be? That's all I heard.
Manipulated.
No, I did say to you that when we collect your information, because it's not in writing anymore, it is as you say it that we punch it into our PDA. Once we do that, it is sent to the server. It can no longer come back to, not even the enumerator can retrieve it. Nobody can, except at the time we want to begin to analyze and then give us the details, because it's already in the cloud.
Well, let me ask you this. The last time, if memory serves me right, we had prepared census, if I'm going to use the word you used earlier. There was some parallel activities of some state governments, case in point, Lagos State at the time. Is there any chance that such a thing would be allowed this time, or would happen, where state officials will go pari passu with federal officials to do the counts?
I think that quite clearly, but I want to assume what you're asking is, during the last census, is that what you said, that we had some state officials working with our commission officials on the field? Is that what you said?
Yes.
And will there be such a...
Yes. Is that going to happen this time around?
That's what you said. Let me say this. Census is completely a local-based activity. It is localized all the time. And that is why in every state we have been talking to the governors, the legislators, the state owners, all the stakeholders in every state, that they must be involved. In fact, we have instructions, and that's what we're doing. All our enumerators will be sourced locally based on local government that they live. Because you know, during census, there will be no movement. So everything we're doing is local. That's why we're talking to the royal fathers, we're talking to faith-based organizations, we're talking to physically challenged organizations, we're talking to market women, we're talking to legislators, the government, everybody, so that the persons we're training as enumerators, because we started training some people, we started training some supervisors, we're training some we call CAPI and all that. We're ensuring that our enumerators will not come from anywhere except the state they are residing in. It is purely local. Everything about the census is local. We cannot import anybody. Everything is local, and that is what we're doing this time.
Concerned, madam, about internally displaced persons, as some people were, going by some of the questions that my colleague here asked Mr. Gusau earlier.
I only heard you up to going by the question your colleague asked, and I didn't hear a question. So please, can you repeat it?
Are you as concerned as well about internally displaced persons, as my colleague here asked Mr. Gusau earlier?
Very much, we are. And we showed a lot of that concern during the enumeration area demarcation. And I can tell you, when I was acting chairman of the commission, had actually visited Borno State due to this kind of condition that they have. And my colleague from Borno State, the commissioner representing Borno State at the commission, is also doing a lot on the IDPs. What we have decided to do in our questionnaire to aid people to put their mind at rest, and to also, especially for those who are, because IDP too, they're also migrants. And you know that Lagos State, my state, also has a lot of migrants. We have been talking about census migration, that it is a very negative and bad thing for data. So what we have done in our question this time, we have decided to be proactive. We have included states of origin, so that if you're an IDP from Borno State and you've been moved to Abuja, we will count you in Abuja as a resident of Abuja, but in the questionnaire, your state of origin is also stated. And so that's why I'm also appealing to the Lagosians who usually move out to the east, to Kwara, to anywhere during census, that they don't need to risk their lives. Because if your governor wants to know how many of his people are in Lagos State, the questionnaire also reveals how many of you are there. But we must be able to say how many of us are actually residing in Lagos State at this point in time, so that proper policies can be formulated to aid better living of the people of Lagos State. That is the essence of census. And that's why we don't want even the IDPs to move anywhere. But if we get to any IDP camp, they will be duly counted, and we'll ask them what is their state of origin. We're not going to record them under their state of origin, but the facts will be there for the governor to get at the end of the census and know what he wants to plan for his people. And for those who are migrants into Lagos because they're looking for greener pasture, they're looking for better lives, we're also assuring them when we come then, because it is stated that from Anambra, they are from Ogun, from Kwara, from Kano, their governors who would also know that he has people in Lagos. Because you know Lagos is where everybody comes to. It is a country within a country. There is no Nigerian that doesn't have a relation in Lagos, or doesn't have a friend, or does not intend to come to Lagos, or has not heard about Lagos. So we are aware of this, and this is what the commission has done now. We will put people's state of origin in the question that we're asking them.
Mr. Sunday, how are you able to sieve foreigners out of this exercise? For instance, if I'm from Ghana, and I'm a bike rider in Lagos, if I want to claim to be a Nigerian, it would be easy if all I have to do is fill my state of origin. I can just select any state and just put there and claim to be a Nigerian.
As part of our questions under the questionnaire, we also ask where you are from, apart from the state of origin. We also ask where you're born. It's also important. And then we ask your parents and all that. All these questions, when we've asked them, by the time we begin to analyze, we'll be able to know those who are Nigerians and those who are not Nigerians. The questions have taken care of all this. Our questions are over 70. So you can see, we have taken care of every demographic factor that will help us give the best data to our government so that they can plan better for this country and for the private sector to be able to use in carrying out their businesses as well.
70 questions, isn't that cumbersome? $70 questions, wouldn't that be cumbersome?
Well, it is not cumbersome. We have also checked the timing, and we're also working on, if we find the timing too much, we would increase the enumerators. That's what we're going to do. If we thought we were going to use 10 enumerators for a particular enumeration area, and we found out that they might not be able to finish it, we would have to increase, and would have to ask the federal government to give us more money to do this. Because the truth is, census is a highly financially consuming project. And without this mother of all data, no nation can improve or develop.
Okay.
The only way a nation can have incremental sustainable development is to have accurate demographic data. So our data is special. The federal government must not shy away from giving us enough money to carry out this onerous duty for the benefit of everybody, residents in this country, particularly Nigerians, that we all want better lives for ourselves. It is important. It's quite expensive, but it is possible with the right motives and the right infrastructure. This is the truth about it.
Well, still on the 70 questions matter. How many minutes would each person you're enumerating have to stay with your officials? Each enumeration should take about how many minutes per person?
Now, each enumeration is taking about 20 minutes, depending on who it is. Depending, you know what I mean by depending. There are people you get to, they can answer your questions easily and faster. There are people you'd have to explain to, and that is why we have also translated these questions in major languages, and we're encouraging other states to translate into those languages that are within their states. In Lagos State, the governor is ensuring that these are translated into a language, into Awori, before that date, and then we would educate our people on these questions so that by the time we get to them, it is not new, and they can easily understand and answer these questions. It takes about 20 minutes, and that is where we're using a lot of enumerators. Recall we did say that this census project is also an opportunity to give employment to our youth. No state is every state is taking thousands and thousands of ad hoc staff during this period. We're engaging them and giving them jobs at this time. We need quite a lot of people. It is a manpower that will be huge. The questions cannot be reduced if you must get the right answers that the government and private sector must work with to give every one of us better lives. Well, we cannot reduce the questions, but we would increase.
Okay. Yeah, that leads me to this follow-up. When you say that the states have, you know, some roles to play, that the states are the ones doing the translation and all of that, what other assignments or tasks are there for states to take on for this process, this census project, and how engaged are they so far? What kind of feedback have you been getting from the state governments?
The state governments actually are the owners of the census. Because, you know, I did say that census is purely a local activity. And census involves everybody. It's an all-inclusive activity. It is not like elections or any other thing. It concerns a child born that second we enter the house. If a child is born during census period, if an enumerator enumerates Channel TV today, Abuja, and assuming Channel TV Lagos is next to Channel TV, during that same period of enumeration, you have left Abuja channels, and you hear that a child is born within the same enumeration period, you must come back to that house and take the details of that child and register that child, because that child is born during census. It is this important. And that's what we've been telling state governments. They must own the process. They must own the process. It's a national project, but it's their process, it's their project, because this is what will also help our state governments to plan better and also be able to know what they need, even from the federal government. And state governments, because we're engaging local people, they have a role to play. All the local government chairmen must also be at their duty post. We don't know all the local people. The state governments must be willing to help us, to give us their local people who would be able to work more effectively within those areas, since there will be no movement on that day. Because there is no point we just say anybody should apply, and somebody in Abuja applies to work in Lagos and you can't come into Lagos. Or even within Lagos, let me take Lagos. You are living in Surulere and we post you to Ikeja, you cannot go. Even within that same Lagos, if you're living in Ikate and we post you to another part of Surulere local government, you might not be able to go. That's how complex Lagos State is. So the governments of every state, especially Lagos State government, must be completely involved. And I'm really happy to say that Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has to be an excellent, he has also shown he's leading an excellent state and is an excellent governor. For census, he has been very, very concerned. The governor will discuss census up to 2 a.m. with members. He is so interested, and he knows Lagos is not so happy with census results in the past. So this time, they want to get it right, and I'm happy that they are very much involved, and they would get it right this time by the grace of God.
Mr. Gusau? Mr. Gusau, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Peculiarly in the north, many people are itinerant. And let's be specific about Borno now. You say that there has been a lot of sensitization.
Yes.
How are those itinerant farmers and herders going to be counted?
Well, every situation sometimes comes opportunity. The unfortunate insurgency has brought about some specialized opportunities for Borno, in the sense that we have all kinds of non-governmental organizations, and a lot of the activities have added to the local awareness, in Borno State. Like I started by saying, Governor Zulum has made a lot of work easier indirectly for the National Population Commission, in the sense that his resettlement drive has been very aggressive. A lot of people are back to communities. More than 20 communities have been resettled, which makes it a lot easier. And then a lot of people, including the IDPs, are really involved because of humanitarian activities. For instance, even in terms of how we allocate food items, for instance, there are normally cards that are given to people before they are given food. There's a retrieval process. There are a lot of processes that a lot of people have become used to. So, and I'm very sure that the National Population Commission is going to benefit from it. But the fact of the matter is that the issue of census is something that the advocacy would have to be continued. But we know that in Borno, we have had the peculiar challenge of losing a lot of population. A lot of people were killed. But of course, there has been a lot of mass reproduction. A lot of, even within the IDP counts, a lot of women have given birth. There's mass reproduction. And then the governor leads the advocacy. Wherever the governor finds himself, because he's always on top of local government areas, two things that he has always hammered on are the issue of voter participation and the issue of the upcoming census. And I can assure you that very soon there's going to be another mass mobilization, in the sense that stakeholders from local government areas will be sent to their local government areas to go and do more aggressive sensitization. Governor Zulum is somebody who is extraordinarily committed. The NPC will be in the best position to tell you that he has given all kinds of support to the NPC at the level of Borno State, and the engagement will continue. His commitment will only increase. Look, the issue of census is political, unfortunately. Every state wants to have a high population. Of course, I believe that's why the NPC is ensuring accuracy, to ensure that there are no political manipulation of figures. But the governors, the political actors, they know that every state wants to have a good population, but of course it has to be accurate. I will tell you, in Borno State, beyond politics, Governor Zulum knows that the accuracy of population is very important for policy formulation, for virtually all the policies of government. He takes it very seriously, and by the special grace of God, we will get it very, very, very right.
The mass reproduction, I don't understand what you mean by that, and I'd like you to explain, particularly when you now add, just one second, particularly when you now add the fact that you believe the issue of census is political. Every state wants to have a high population. So I don't understand, all of that mix.
What I'm saying, if you go back to even the issue of Lagos, when there was a dispute in terms of perception between what population, which of the states had the highest number of population, there was really a dispute between Kano and Lagos. Basically, that was why Lagos had to do its own census. So it's something that we have to accept. Every state wants to be seen as having a high population, because the population determines a lot of things, including the state allocation and things like that. And now the point I'm trying to bring is that I'm bringing two extreme scenarios in the case of Borno. Of course, we know that the Boko Haram has led to a lot of killings. that we are not sure of the figure. Official statistics will tell you about what 20, 30,000, but we know more than 100,000 or far more have been killed. But I'm also saying that within the period of the Boko Haram insurgency, there have been a lot of bats, even in the IDP camps. If you go to the statistics of the UN, if you were to consider statistics of the UN and other humanitarian organizations, they will tell you there have been many cases of child bats in the IDP camps and even in host communities. Some of them are as a result of the fact that people are confined, to one particular location where a man and a family is there, they don't do anything, and then the next you have, is the issues of bats. So there have been many cases of bats in across Borno State. So I wouldn't be surprised as to the number of population that you may end up seeing in Borno State. And this is not only peculiar to Borno, it's peculiar to many places, particularly low literate communities.
Okay, well, Mr.
So
Okison, just 1 second, because we're running out of time.
Two extreme situations.
My apologies, my sincere apologies for butting in, because we're running out of time. Well, if you want to, could you speak to some of the issues that Mrs. Salu Hunde, right beside you there, raised when she said that there is the appeal to state governors to embrace the process as their own. You're saying that Governor Zulum isn't opposed. If anything, he's actually very supportive. I don't know if it is something you would say is across board, because I know that Borno State at least has some neighboring states as well. What kind of body language would you say the NPC could be getting from other state governments around in terms of this census, especially because we want it to be as accurate as possible?
I think it largely depends on the commissioner representing a particular state. Some commissioners are more committed than than others. So basically, I don't know if your question is meant for Madam or for
it's
me,
for you.
But,
it's for you.
Just before I move to her, I will tell you it depends on the commitment of a particular commissioner. Okay, for you.
Thank you very much. I must say, first of all, before I answer that question, I'd like to correct my brother's impression given to the public that census is a political exercise. Census is not a political exercise. It is an economic activity to aid the development of any country. That's number 1 point. The number 2 thing he did say here that I also would like to correct the impression before the public is that it was the political part of it that made Lagos to go to court when during the last census because Kano was ahead of Lagos. No, sir. What happened was Lagos went to court because Lagos believed it had that population, and I must say here, it's on record that Lagos won on each aspect that it went to court. Unfortunately, and I repeat, as a member of the commission, with due respect to our laws, the law regarding census taking in Nigeria does not make room for a recount. It's not like election where they say this election has not been properly carried out and then you can go back and have a re-election. In census affairs, we're not allowed to have at least a statistical recount. If we were allowed, Lagos having been adjudged, the case having been won in its favor, that they won, there should have been a recount, but there is no recount. So we leave that as that. But I must say, right here to everybody listening, census is an economic activity. So we must all embrace it if we want to grow in our country. If we want development for our nation, it is an economic activity. Obviously, it affects every spectrum of our lives, that I know, and I must be honest. And then I can go to your question, my brother, and that is, from the meeting I told you, which was an emergency meeting that we've been having, and that's why I'm in Abuja now. Every commissioner had opportunity to state how their state governors or state government have been perceiving and have been participating in the census, in the preparations.
Thank
you. I must say
Thank you, Mrs. Abimbola Salu Hunde, Federal Commissioner, National Population Census for Lagos State. I'm sorry I had to have to cut you short, but we've run completely out of time. We also had a spokesman to the Borno State Governor, Issa Gusau, both of whom joined us from our studio in Abuja. We wish Nigeria luck through the census period. And Mrs. Hunde, you have your work cut out, so all the best. Sunrise will return in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Do stay with us.